Hello, SquirrelTribe. It has been less than 24 hours since the school shooting at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia, which is in Barrow County, and a lot has happened since then. One of the things I would like to point out is that Kamala Harris called it Winder, Georgia. Didn't even know the name of the location she was speaking about when she decided to mention gun control because of the school shooting during her New Hampshire rally. Instead of talking about the actual lives lost or the issues that led up to it, it was more about gun control than anything. But since then, a lot of stuff has come out, a lot of stuff has happened, and one of the things that I think is very important for everybody to know is that the FBI knew about this kid. Obviously, we have questions on why the FBI was watching a 13-year-old at the time, because a year ago they had him on their radar, and he's 14 now. The kid that one of the kids that committed the shooting, because I am still convinced there was more than one person, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. But this is from FBI Atlanta. You can see here, this is going all around everywhere. It is on mainstream media as well. It is definitely verified. The FBI Atlanta responded earlier today to Apalachee High School following reports of an active shooter. Throughout the day, FBI personnel have been coordinating with and supporting local and state law enforcement. The FBI will dedicate all available resources as requested to seek justice and bring closure for the victims and their families. In May of 2023, the FBI's National Threat Operations Center received several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting at an unidentified location and time. The online threats contained photographs of guns. Within 24 hours, the FBI determined the online post originated in Georgia, and the FBI's Atlanta field office referred the information to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office for action. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office located a possible subject, a 13-year-old male, and interviewed him and his father. The father stated he had hunting guns in the house, but the subject did not have unsupervised access to them. The subject denied making the threats online. Jackson County alerted local schools for continued monitoring of the subject. At that time, there was no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional law enforcement action on the local, state, or federal levels. And this, again, is from the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Atlanta Division. They had him on their radar a year ago. They went to his home, spoke to him and his father, and decided there was no threat. My personal opinion, once the FBI has to come to your house because of online threats that have been made, and it is determined that there are guns or whatever in the home, and that there is the possibility that there could be something, the kids should have stayed on radar, especially in the schools, because anything is possible, right? What's worse, though, is that they had a heads up of what was going to happen. Apalachee High School received a phone call this morning, meaning yesterday morning, that warned about shootings. This is according to officials. The high school at the center of today's mass shooting in Georgia received an earlier phone threat. Multiple law enforcement officials are telling CNN and other broadcast stations, not just CNN. It's on Fox, it's on ABC, NBC, it's on MSNBC. It is through everywhere that these threats were called in. Law enforcement officials in Georgia say Apalachee High School received a phone call this morning warning that there would be shootings at 5 schools and that Apalachee would be the first. Now, here's the issue. We talked about this yesterday. They're saying that the shootings started around 9:30 a.m. and police arrived on the scene at 10:20 a.m. If you had a phone call before anything ever happened that there was the possibility of a shooting, why were there not already local law enforcement dispatched to the high school, to the area, with a threat like that called in? Why was it not taken seriously before it happened? Okay, number one. When they had the heads up of it, why did it still take them 50 minutes to get to the school? Again, this feels very Uvalde, Texas to me, with the amount of time in between the shooting and the stopping. And the other issue here is it wasn't the outside law enforcement that stopped the shooting. It was the school resource officers that were able to stop the shooting. The same resource officers that Kamala Harris says should not be in schools. She has wanted to remove the military-like presence from schools since 2019. She's spoken on it numerous times. The fact that if she had her way over the last few years and had taken out school resource officers, imagine how many more people would have been hurt yesterday at Apalachee High School without having those resource officers there to stop the kid that was doing the shooting, or at least one of them. I do want to show you that they have identified the 4 people. So the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, has identified the 2 teachers. There's Richard Aspinwall and Christina Irami, killed in the shooting at Apalachee High. It says our thoughts are with their families at this time. This is the picture of the 2 teachers. He's a coach and she is a teacher. I don't remember what subject. And then this is Mathan, I think his last name is Schermerhorn. His mother confirmed that he was one of the students that was killed. He is a autistic student. He was in a special classroom for autism, and he has been identified as one of the people killed. Here you go. He's 14 years old. And then the other student that was killed was another 14-year-old here. His name is Christian Angulo. He was the second student killed in the shooting at Apalachee High School. So again, 2 students, 2 teachers were killed, 9 injured enough to go to the hospital, and then 30 or so others that were injured in, whether it was the melee, whether it was whatever else. There were some other small injuries, but nothing that involved needing to go to the hospital. But a lot of people were pointing out, and again, you don't want to this is not making light of anything that happened. Please understand that. But there are things that do not add up. And we talked about this yesterday, that it just happens to happen in the swing state. There are 2 swing states right now that will make or break the Democrats from winning the November 5th election. And they are Georgia and they are Pennsylvania. If anything happens in Pennsylvania that has to do with gun laws or anything like that in the next few weeks, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. Because the second that this happened in Georgia, it's like, really? Really? The first, and they said this, the first school shooting of the year, like they have more planned, whatever, happened to be in Georgia? Really? Okay. And it happened to be in an area that they had a phone call called in. They called it in and no police showed up. They had the same kid happen to be on the FBI watch list for over a year and nobody thought to, keep an eye on him. Lots of issues here. But also 9 injured, 4 dead. Yesterday was 9/4, September 4th. People put a lot of stock in numbers and coincidences like that. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. I'm just letting you know that that is something that is being talked about on social media right now. The fact that 9 injured, 4 dead on 9/4, September 4th. Okay, putting it out there, just letting you know. I have more here. Hold on one second. So this to me is, I just want you to hear the reminder that Kamala Harris wants to take officers out of school. Because again, this is something that if she had had her way, what happened yesterday at Apalachee High School would have gone even farther and could have been way more detrimental. And I just want to remind you what people will be voting for on November 5th.
And then also, again, what we need to do about demilitarizing our schools and taking police officers out of schools. We need to deal with the reality and speak the truth about the inequities around school discipline.
For the last 13 years.
You want to talk about inequities around school discipline, taking the people out that can keep them safe does not make sense at all. Not in the least whatsoever. I don't understand how that's where she's at. Probably because she does not have kids. Yes, she is a stepmother for the last year or a couple years or whatever of teenagers, but she doesn't, and this is not against step parents at all whatsoever, but watching Kamala Harris and the way she is, the way she acts, the way she talks about her stepkids, the way she talks about kids in general, I don't feel like she has that same level of love and compassion and willingness to die for those kids that most parents have for their children, even step parents have for their children, adoptive parents for their children, parents in general, caretakers, caregivers in general. I've never felt that from her. I've never thought to myself, man, I bet she's a great mom, stepmom, whatever you want to label her. Never once has that crossed my mind. And the second she says she wants to take out the school resource officers who can keep those children safe, I was done with her, completely done with her, no matter what, because it shows to me that she does not care about the safety of students, all right? You also have to take into consideration that nearly 12 hours, this again was posted last night, this is from Libs of TikTok over on X, nearly 12 hours since 4 people were killed by a lunatic, and nobody has heard from John yet. Now, John Skinner, he is the Chief Safety and Security Officer for Barrow County Schools in Georgia, which is where the shooting took place. Barrow County, Winder, inside Barrow County at Apalachee High School. He's not mentioned in any reporting. He's the Chief Safety and Security Officer for the school district. 4 people are dead. The school received advance warning. The shooter was known to the FBI. We need answers and accountability. Now, the problem is, this is him. The problem is that nothing has been said. He has not come out. He should have been one of the first people on the scene of the high school and have something to say about this. And the fact that Barrow County itself let these students down by not taking the called in threat seriously, especially knowing that it was at the same high school where the same kid that the FBI went to visit last year was in school. Come on now, really? Is this you drop the ball, or is this you let the ball roll on purpose because it helps the Democratic push? I don't like the fact that this is political, because it should be about these kids, but I feel like they have made it a political thing. Of course, we know that Biden and Kamala, the very first things they said with anything was about needing stronger gun laws, not about the horrific, instance of people losing their lives and of a child, taking the lives of those people. It was about gun control. The fact that they knew that this could happen and did not stop it, were not prepared for it, did not productively react to it ahead of time, that causes a lot of issues for me. They've decided to close the school for the rest of the week, as they should, so that they can clean up the school, because, bodies and blood, but also so these children can have a step back and try to understand and get their minds right before they have to go back into the same area where they thought they were safe just yesterday morning before 9:30, right? The problem here is, well, there's a lot of problems, but there has been more evidence of multiple shooters in Apalachee High School. This is from somebody called Into Thin Air on X. And I talked about this yesterday. First video, second video. I put up 2 videos about this yesterday because it's a very important topic to me, having a daughter who does go to a high school, not a public high school, but she goes to a high school, right? And it's still something that parents worry about on a daily basis. What's going to happen to their kids? Will they be safe where you take them? Will they make it home okay? Will their friends make it home okay? My nephew in Georgia, he's in high school as well, in a school that I could see this happening at. And it's terrifying knowing that the people that you love are in this situation. And it's the same thing when you go into your own office space. You never know when you're going into work if somebody is going to do something crazy and horrific there, right? It's one of those things where the mental decline of people over the last few years especially has been exorbitant, and it's manifesting in all these different ways, and people don't know how to deal with this kind of thing, and the first thing they do is they go towards violence instead of having somebody to talk to, right? But what's crazy is yesterday I mentioned that the very first kid that spoke about what happened at the school said that he looked out the window and saw a man with a gun. And again, a man and a 14-year-old boy do not look anything alike. You cannot tell me that there's a single 14-year-old boy out there who looks like a grown-ass man. All right. Now, if you take into consideration the school itself and where the teachers were hurt, where the 2 students were killed, where the other students were injured, yes, it's saying that the shooter was around for 50 minutes. If you look at the fact that the shooting started at 9:30, police did not get there till 10:20 to stop everything. That's a 50-minute window. That kid could have gone all over the school. But when you have students who are not together, talking independently, either through text to their parents, talking to whatever reporter showed up, talking to the police, and they're saying that they heard gunshots outside of their classroom, and this is all at the same time, and they're all in different areas of the school, that definitely leads to believe there was more than just this 14-year-old kid. Is he the scapegoat for everything because they have him on a watch list from last year? Was this planned ahead of time? Like, you have to have these kind of questions. You have to be able to think about things in a deeper way than just what mainstream media is going to show you. So according to this is from, like I said, Into Thin Air on X. says he spoke directly to a parent of a student who attends school very close to Apalachee High School. Right next to Apalachee High School is an elementary school. My friend's daughter was in the elementary school, another in the high school. The elementary school went on a soft lockdown during the hard lockdown, or hard lockdown during the hard lockdown of Apalachee High School. And these elementary school kids, of course, are terrified because of what's happening next door. They couldn't hear it. It is far enough away. They couldn't hear the gunshots, thankfully, because that would be extremely traumatic for these young kids. But the fact of the matter is they are right next door. And that's something flying around my car. When the hard lockdown started, you have these kids in the high school talking about how they're hearing these gunshots at the same time in all these different locations. This, according to this person, into thin air, the snapshot is from her claiming there are 4 shooters. One is in custody, which is the 14-year-old, what's his name, Colt Gray. And then the second, they're saying, was a football player who went after his coach. So the coach that died was a football coach, and 2 unaccounted for. Now, apparently the plan was to head to another school. And in the first video, I'm going to show you these. The first video, how did this young kid get from one end of the school to the other in such a short time? Listen carefully, look at the map. Now, according to this, the young girl says she knew one of the shooters. In the last video, you hear a second person claim it was kids who already graduated, confirming what the students' parents told them. And it says, this is very real and they are hiding the real facts. Please share this far and wide. Although this is unconfirmed, we must dissect every questionable detail, which is exactly what I say. You have to listen to everything and put it together for yourselves, because they're never going to tell you the complete truth about anything. Even if you have evidence of what is happening, they're never going to tell you the complete truth. But this right here, this is messages that were sent to a parent. They took a screenshot when these messages came in, and I'm guessing it's at 3:46 p.m. Or maybe it's wrong because of the time stamp on it. I don't know. And it says there are 4 shooters. One has been caught. The one that got caught admitted that their plan was to go to Jaxco next, which is Jackson County. And then also one of the shooters were apparently a football player, and the coach was shot and killed. So you have these text messages from this kid that he sent to his parent or whatever else, and they took a screenshot or a picture of it. And the other issue is you have here, let's see if I can get this to come up in volume.
White columns, right over the door.
I don't know, you won't be able to hear this. This is,
4 white columns, right over the doorway.
maybe you can read.
Gymnasium. We are told that that is one of the locations of the shooting, and that the coach went to open a door and was shot at that gymnasium. And then on the opposite side of the school in the J hallway, I am told that is another scene of the shooting. And when we looked at a map of the school that a student provided to us, you could really see how far apart these 2 locations were. So there really was a lot of time that it must have taken the suspect to get from J hallway or to the gymnasium, or vice versa. So the 2 locations have a lot of distance in between them. A lot of the students have talked about having to pass the bodies of...
Okay, so that's enough there. I don't know if you guys could hear that because it is hard to hear. Hopefully you can read at the bottom, but they're saying that the gymnasium is on one side of the school, and J hallway, where the first student was killed, is on a completely opposite side of the school. Now keep in mind, if this one student really had 50 minutes to do all of this, then maybe that's possible, but the time in between every little thing was very short, according to the news themselves. And if the resource officers were able to catch the kid, the 14-year-old, and he immediately put down his gun, right? Why would it take the resource officer so long to stop him? I personally think that once they stopped that kid, there was still somebody out there that killed somebody else. Well, that's how you ended up with 4 shootings. They still have not said what gun the kid was using, even though during the interview with the dad, he said he had shotguns. They haven't said what kind of gun that was used there. So we don't know if the same type of bullet was used on all 4 of the deceased and all 9 of the injured, which is something I hope they're going to release if there's anything different, because this kid's not going to be carrying around numerous guns, I would think. I want to know exactly what is going on here, because a lot of it is absolutely crazy to me that it doesn't all add up immediately. Let me see if I can get this one to play better. Hold on. Maybe this one will work better. This is from another news report. Let's see.
This shooter, did they see anybody? Have they heard if that was a student at the school?
They said that it was students that was at the school the previous year, and it was more than one shooter. They said that it was 3 different shooters because they had heard shots on different areas of the school campus. So my oldest granddaughter is in the 12th grade. Then I have 2 that's in the 9th grade. And so my grandson, one of his friends, was shot and killed. And my granddaughter, one of her best friend's sister, was shot in the arm. But I don't know if she's okay.
Now, that is the grandparent of of 2 of the kids at the school. And again, they're talking about how there's definitely more than one shooter because they're hearing it in different parts of the building, which is what a lot of these kids have been saying. Now, I will say that they immediately, especially CNN, immediately started talking to students that were outside of the building. And this is going to sound absolutely horrible when I say it, but the very first interview that I saw was CNN and a young girl who was at the high school. It felt very practiced, rehearsed, and not genuine to me. I don't have that one here to show you. It didn't feel right. And that's why I'm having an issue with this entire school shooting situation. I have an issue with every single one of them. I think they're all absolutely horrific. But the fact that we're having so many conflicting things coming out from the media versus the students who lived through it is very concerning to me. When you have the students telling you that they saw a man outside, that it was a football player, that it was students who went there already and that went there last year, that's an issue. The 14-year-old that they're saying did the shooting, he's a freshman. He would not have gone there last year. He would have been in the middle school, which is a completely different school. Apalachee High School is 9 through 12. There are no 8th graders in there. So they're saying that it's not him that did the shooting, that they saw, the person they witnessed. Again, I feel like a lot more information is going to come out. Of course, some of these kids are going to have video footage at some point. It's going to get uploaded somewhere, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. They're going to have their phones. They're going to have something uploaded. There is a video going around of where the resource officers, I believe, are leading the children out of one of the classrooms and down the hallway, and they're having to walk past a body with a sheet over it with red on it because it's a deceased person, right? And that's absolutely traumatizing for these kids. But we have got to keep in mind that the timing of this is absolutely crazy to me. The fact that they were given a heads up and did absolutely nothing about it that part does not compute with me whatsoever. That makes absolutely zero sense that they would have a phone call that morning that says, we're going to shoot this school and then move on to other ones. And they did nothing to either lock down the school ahead of time, to keep the students safe, to do anything. They didn't have extra security on campus at that point. It doesn't make sense if it's something they wanted to stop, that they wanted to prevent, right? That's how I feel about that. Now, I just wanted to bring all of this to your attention. Like I said, there's a lot more out there. I'm not really going to show a lot of the videos from inside the school or whatever. I don't want to put the kids that are speaking on camera either. You can look it up for yourselves if you would like on that, but I don't want to, I'm only showing you the children and the people that lost their lives because that is important to me. I'm not going to show anything else because it's children, you know what I mean? And I don't want to do that to them. So, SquirrelTribe, I appreciate you letting me bring you more information. This is something that I find necessary to talk about for myself because it helps keep me kind of calm and in tune with what's going on in the schools and the kids. And I just appreciate y'all letting me have this conversation with you. So I love you immensely. I will be back with more stuff that is non-Apalachee High School related a little bit later. Okay, goodbye.